My school advisor promised a luxury senior trip for $100 a person. We paid for a charter bus and a mystery destination. Today, we saw a yellow school bus pull up, and he told us he'd booked the local history museum. So I decided to expose him in the school paper. How much does your dignity cost? My teacher, Mr. Henderson, sold ours for $100 a head. I had to answer that question for real, and I'm still not sure if I got it right. It all started with Mr. Henderson, our senior class advisor. He was one of those teachers who peaked in high school and decided to just stay there. He coached JV football, ran student council, and had this desperate need to be seen as the cool teacher. For our senior trip, he'd been hyping up this mystery destination for months. He'd lean back in his chair during homeroom, stroking his sad little goatee, and drop hints. Guys, I'm talking charter bus. Plush seats. Maybe even snacks included. He'd say, like he was announcing a trip to the moon. The cost was $100 a head. $100 is a lot when you're 17 and your job is scooping ice cream for 6 hours a weekend. But we all paid. We were seniors. We felt invincible. We pooled our money, dreaming of a real destination, an investment in one last perfect memory before we all scattered to different colleges. On the day of the trip, the entire senior class was buzzing. We gathered in the school parking lot at 7 a.m., a sea of hoodies and excitement. He stood there, beaming, next to a yellow school bus that smelled like old cheese and regret. My best friend Maya whispered, "There's no way. This is a prank, right? The real bus is coming?" But I knew. I could see it in his smug, self-satisfied smile. This was it. Our $100 charter bus trip. All right, seniors. Your chariot awaits. Mr. Henderson boomed, slapping the side of the bus. It made a sad, metallic thud. It was bus 7, the one with the torn seats, driven by Brenda, who'd been driving for the district since our parents were students. He'd sold us on a mystery destination, a perfect final memory. What we got was a trip to the local historical society, the same place we'd all visited in 5th grade to see antique butter churns. He scammed us. The bus ride cost the school nothing. The museum admission was maybe $5 a student. We did the math in the back of the bus. He'd collected thousands. Where did the rest of the money go? I got on the bus, found a seat with the least amount of mysterious stains, and pulled out my phone. Maya sat next to me, just staring into the middle distance. He catfished us, she said. Our entire graduating class got catfished by our own school. I didn't say anything. I just stared at Mr. Henderson, who was now trying to rally everyone with a week who's ready for a surprise. I forced a smile. A big, friendly, totally fake smile. He caught my eye and gave me a little nod, like we were in on some great joke together. Oh, we were. He just didn't know his role in it yet. That night, I didn't do my calculus homework. Instead, I stayed up until 2 a.m. in the school newspaper office, digging. I was the editor of the Northwood Herald. Maya was my co-editor. We'd been running the paper together since sophomore year. She was the detail-oriented one, the fact-checker. I was the one who pushed for the edgier stories. I looked up the cost of a standard school bus rental. Then I called a few local museums and asked about group rates for students. The numbers weren't adding up. Not even close. I wrote the first draft of my article titled The Senior Swindle. We spent the next week digging. We interviewed students, collecting quotes dripping with disappointment. We were building a solid case. This is where the line got drawn. The day before we were set to go to print, Mr. Henderson called me into his classroom after school. He had this smug look on his face. He closed the door. "Heard you're working on a little story," he started, leaning against his desk. A real hard-hitting piece of journalism. I stood my ground. "We're just reporting the facts, Mr. Henderson. Students want to know where their money went." He smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. He held up a single sheet of paper. This is an invoice. See, I had the landscaping company that redid the school's front entrance bill, the work to the student activities fund. A little creative accounting. Keeps the school board happy, frees up the maintenance budget for other things, like my new football equipment. It's all perfectly legal. My jaw tightened. He'd found a loophole. He'd used our senior trip money to pay for bushes. He laundered our trip money through the landscaping budget. I said the pieces clicking into place. "I prefer reallocated assets for campus beautification," he said with a shrug. "It's all perfectly above board. A little boring for a front page story, don't you think? Advisor follows protocol. Doesn't have much of a ring to it. Kill the story." I walked out of that room in stunned silence. Back in the newspaper office, I told Maya what happened. He had us trapped. Our big expose was dead. The story had no teeth. We have to drop it, Maya said, her voice heavy with defeat. There's nothing we can do. I agreed to pull the article. It felt like defeat. It tasted like ash. But I couldn't let it go. I saw him in the halls, swaggering around, that smug look permanently plastered on his face. He had won. He had stolen from us, lied to us, and then rubbed our faces in it with a landscaping receipt. That night, I couldn't sleep. And that's when I decided I had to find a different weapon. He thought his paperwork was clean. But people are messy. A few months back, I was in the library late working on a project. It was mostly empty. I was by the computers near the administrative offices and overheard Mr. Henderson talking to the principal, Mr. Davison. Henderson was talking about his application to be the new assistant principal at Ridgefield High, our rival school. He was bragging, saying he was a shoo-in. But then Mr. Davison said something I never forgot. "Mark, we can talk about a recommendation, but we have to address the incident from your time at West Creek High. They're going to ask." Henderson got quiet. He said he thought his record was sealed. The principal said it was, but that people talk. It was just a piece of overheard gossip. But now it felt like my only option. I spent the next 2 days digging. I used the school newspaper's LexisNexis account, searching old news articles from the West Creek area. Nothing under his name. Then I started searching for general school scandals from that time period. I found it. A small article in the West Creek Gazette about a teacher who was fired for falsifying student grades. A whole group of failing football players had magically become eligible to play right before the championship game. The teacher's name wasn't in the article as per district policy, but the timeline matched perfectly with when Henderson left that school and came to ours. And he was the JV football coach there too. It was circumstantial, but it was enough. I wrote a new article. I didn't mention the bus trip. I didn't mention the landscaping receipt. I wrote an anonymous editorial titled "A Question of Character for Northwood's Leaders." I wrote about the importance of integrity. I mentioned hypothetically what it would mean if a staff member in a position of trust had a history of academic dishonesty. I cited the West Creek incident without using his name. I just laid out the facts of what happened at that school 5 years ago. The grade changes, the football team, the unnamed teacher was quietly let go. I ended the piece by asking if our own school district performed thorough enough background checks. I didn't show it to Maya. I couldn't. This was my decision, my burden. The night before we sent the paper to the printers, I swapped out the fluff piece we had planned for the front page with my editorial. I hit send. There was no going back. The paper came out on Friday. It was all anyone was talking about. A carefully constructed bomb. I hadn't accused him of anything directly. I just put the information out there and let people connect the dots. That afternoon, Maya found me in the newspaper office. She wasn't angry. She was calculating. She spread the day's paper out on the desk, my editorial front and center. Okay, she said, her voice low and steady. You lit the fuse. Now what? Now we wait. I said, people will connect the dots. People are lazy, she countered, tapping the article. And Henderson is slimy. He'll deny it. He'll say it's a student rumor. We need more than dots. We need a line. A straight one. And it needs to come from an adult. She was right. My bomb could be a dud. Henderson could weather this. The principal, I realized. Mr. Davison. He knows. And he's got no reason to help us, Maya said. Admitting he hired Henderson without a thorough background check makes him look incompetent. He'll protect himself first. She started pacing. Her brow furrowed. Then she stopped, a spark in her eye. Unless not saying something is worse for him than saying something, she turned to me. His contract is up for renewal at the end of the year, right? I nodded, seeing where she was going. The school board. The vote is next month, exactly, she said. We don't need to convince Davison. We need to convince the person who holds his future in their hands. We need to talk to Mrs. Gable, Brenda Gable, head of the school board, a no-nonsense retired accountant whose grandkids were in our district. She was famous for scrutinizing every line of the budget. If anyone would hate a story about financial misconduct and hiring shady teachers, it was her. Maya grabbed her keys. We're not waiting for a phone call. We're going to her house. An hour later, we were standing on Mrs. Gable's doorstep, my heart pounding against my ribs. Maya, calm as ever, rang the bell. Mrs. Gable opened the door, a formidable woman with sharp eyes and perfectly styled gray hair. She was holding a copy of the Northwood Herald. My editorial was circled in red pen. I was wondering when I'd be hearing from you too, she said, her voice crisp. She stepped aside. Come in. You have 5 minutes. Her living room was immaculate. We sat on a floral couch that felt like it had never been sat on before. Mrs. Gable sat opposite us, her gaze intense. Your editorial is quite the piece of work, she began, full of insinuation. Not a single named source. By most standards, it's a lawsuit waiting to happen. So tell me why I shouldn't call your principal and have you both suspended for libel. My throat went dry. This was it. The plan had failed. But Maya leaned forward, her hands clasped. Because it's true, she said simply. And you know it, don't you? Or at least you suspect it. That's why you let us in. She laid it all out. The senior trip. The $100 tickets. The landscaping receipt. She delivered the facts with the precision of a surgeon, her voice never wavering. She built the case, piece by piece, until the room was thick with the weight of Henderson's corruption. I watched Mrs. Gable's expression shift from stern skepticism to icy fury. When Maya finished, the silence was heavy. The grade fixing at West Creek, Mrs. Gable said, her voice tight. You're certain it was him? The timeline fits, I said, finding my voice. And Principal Davison as much as confirmed it. He knows. He hired him anyway. Mrs. Gable stood up and walked to a window overlooking her garden. Mark Henderson is on the agenda for Monday's board meeting. He's presenting a budget request for new football equipment. She turned back to us, her eyes like chips of flint. I believe the board may have some additional questions for him. Monday evening, the school library was converted for the board meeting. The air was stale with the smell of old books and nervous sweat. Maya and I sat in the back row, trying to look invisible. Principal Davison sat near the front, looking pale. Mr. Henderson stood at the podium, beaming, ready to talk about helmets and shoulder pads. He never got the chance. Mrs. Gable called the meeting to order and then turned her attention directly to him. Mr. Henderson, before we discuss the football budget, the board has a few questions about the senior class trip. Henderson's smile faltered. He cleared his throat. Of course. It was a wonderful day of local history. A real success. A success that seems to have been funded by the landscaping budget. Mrs. Gable said, her voice echoing in the quiet room. Could you explain to the board why you use senior trip money, collected at $100 a head, to pay an invoice for campus beautification? The color drained from Henderson's face. It's a standard reallocation. It's all in the Student Activities Fund, as per protocol. The protocol of deceiving students and their parents. Another board member chimed in. And about that fund, we'd like to see the original landscaping receipt. The one you showed the newspaper editor. He was starting to sweat. I don't have it with me. It's at the school. Then let's discuss another procedure. Mrs. Gable said, her voice dropping, cold and sharp. Let's discuss West Creek High. 5 years ago. A grade fixing scandal. A football coach quietly resigning. Does that procedure sound familiar to you, Mr. Henderson? The room went dead silent. You could hear a pin drop. Henderson stood there, frozen at the podium, his smugness shattered. He opened his mouth, but no sound came out. He looked at Principal Davison for help, but Davison was staring intently at the tabletop, refusing to make eye contact. He was trapped, utterly and completely. The board members stared at him. Parents in the audience started whispering. It was over. He knew it. We all knew it. He was placed on administrative leave the next morning. By the end of the month, he was gone. The district launched a full audit of the Student Activities Fund and issued a full $100 refund to every senior. It was a total victory. But Maya came to find me in the newspaper office a few days later. She just looked at me. It was a long, quiet look. You didn't tell me you were going to do this, she said. You went behind my back. He had us blocked, Maya. His receipt trick worked. It was the only way. So you did this, she asked, her voice quiet. You found a secret about his past, and you ended his career? What if you were wrong? I wasn't wrong, I said. And I wasn't. The facts proved me right. But that wasn't what she was asking. She looked at me, my best friend, the person I had spent 4 years building something with. And I saw something in her eyes I had never seen before. It wasn't anger. It was a kind of distance, a quiet disappointment. He was a bully. I said, trying to justify it. He deserved it. Maybe, she said. But that's what bullies do. They find a weakness, something personal, and they use it as a weapon. And you did the exact same thing. She turned and walked out of the room. She didn't slam the door. She just closed it softly behind her. The click of the latch echoed in the empty room. We still worked on the paper together for the rest of the year. We were professional. We were polite. But that easy friendship, the shorthand we'd built over years of late nights and deadlines, was gone. There was a wall between us now, and I was the one who had built it. I got him fired. I got our money back. I won. But I was sitting alone in the newspaper office, staring at an article that had cost me my best friend, and I had to wonder if it was worth it. Sometimes you do the right thing the wrong way, and you still have to live with the consequences.